Hello, and welcome back to more Films That Are Constant Critique, where we take a look at films. Some good, some bad, and some downright awful. I'm Bongo Baikov, joined by our host Maverick, Dren, Zaria. This week, we're taking a look at the 1981 film Outland.
Not to be confused with Outlander or Outlander or Highlander. Which, wait, that means Sean Connery has been in a movie with both Outlanders and Highlanders.
That's true.
So, Outland was released May 22nd, 1981. It cost about 14 million and made about 20 million. So it was box office disappointment. It was directed by Peter Hyams. I think that's how it's pronounced. I don't know. And I was surprised at how many of this guy's movies I'd seen.
He has a pretty wide range of films, just from what I've glanced at.
Capricorn 1, 2010, The Year We Make Contact, which was a sequel to 2001: A Space Odyssey. Stay Tuned, which I don't know. Wait, if you know anything about that movie, where what's his name? John Ritter gets stuck in the television.
Oh, really?
The Presidio, which is another Sean Connery movie. Time Cop.
Okay.
And End of Days. So yeah, quite a filmography
We were
there.
just talking about that movie for some reason.
Yeah, we Hollow Man had the same writer as End of Days. That's why we brought that one up. So now we've had the director of End of Days, apparently. Okay. The cast. Of course, we got Sean Connery. Do we even need to introduce Sean Connery?
Introduce him. We've had him on so many times, and everyone knows who he is.
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Highlander,
Yeah.
Bond, James Bond, and Dr. No. Peter Boyle. He is in Taxi Driver.
Oh, okay.
Wizard, one of Travis's co-workers. He played the monster in Young Frankenstein.
Huh.
Where he puts on the Ritz. God. That movie's so funny.
He was also Father Time in the Santa Claus 3.
I forgot about that movie. Was that the one with Martin Short as Jack Frost?
I think so, yeah.
It was like... Yeah, I barely remember that.
Apparently he was also in the first movie as a different character.
Oh, that's strange. We also got... Oh, we've had this guy before. Steven Berkoff. He played Colonel Podovsky in Rambo First Blood Part 2.
Oh, really?
And he also played a Russian villain in Octopussy, because he played,
Oh, that's right.
It was, General Orlov?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I can't wait to review that one. And he's also the villain in Beverly Hills Cop. It's typecast as a villain in a lot of stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of looks like he has a good look for it, you know?
He plays a villain in this, too, kind of, so...
Yeah.
John Ratzenberger. He's in, like, every Pixar movie. Like, all of them, it seems. Two roles I just thought of. He's the Underminer in Incredibles and
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Am in Toy Story, if I remember right. And we've had him on the podcast before.
For which movie?
Empire Strikes Back, where he's like a
Oh, really?
rebel. I think he's dubbed, though. He might be dubbed in that movie.
Huh. He was also in the first two Superman movies.
Oh, okay. I knew he was in the second one, but I didn't know he was in the first one. And he's in the first Superman movie?
Yeah, it just says as a missile commander. So like
I thought he was
pretty
just
small.
in... Because I knew he was in the second one. Okay, so he's in the first one. I forgot he was in the first one. No, and another actor who was in some of the Star Wars movies, Angus McInnes. He plays Gold Leader.
Oh, really?
Star Wars and Rogue One. And he's also in Superman 2. So another Superman 2 connection.
Wow.
Oh, he's in Strange Brew and Hellbound Hellraiser 2.
Oh, nice.
He's got quite a filmography. The music. It was done by, well, let's see, I'll give you a couple of guesses. If it's not John Williams, it's probably...
Is it possibly Jerry Goldsmith?
Yes.
Yeah, that doesn't
So
surprise
he
me.
is the composer we've had on the podcast the second most times. I think we've had him like 11 times now. And John Williams is still in the lead.
Yeah, of course. But he's catching up.
I'm not gonna list all of them off because it would take too long. I was surprised to learn this, but this movie got an Oscar nomination
Oh, really?
for Best Sound.
Okay, I can see that. What was it up against?
Well, it lost to Raiders of the Lost Ark, because, of course.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So, initial thoughts. So, this is one I had seen this one before, but it was like 10 years ago. I barely remembered it. Here's what I remembered of it. I remembered Sean Connery was in it. I remembered it was set in space, and I remembered that people's heads exploded. Kind of like Total Recall. Would you say that's a fair comparison?
That is a very fair comparison.
So, watching it again, I was wondering if it would hold up or not. And I still think it's a decent movie for what it is. It's more of a mystery thriller than an action movie. I think it has good acting, good effects. It has an interesting premise and setting with, like, because they're not on Jupiter, they're on Jupiter's moon. It's like a space station they have up there. I thought, okay, that's pretty cool. It's a bit of a slow burn, but I like it. And I mean, it has Sean Connery in it. That helps a lot. So.
Yeah,
you can go now.
So, I didn't really know what to expect going in. I had heard that it was kind of like a sci-fi western, and I knew that it starred Sean Connery. But other than that, I didn't really know what to expect. I hadn't really heard much about this film before. So this was definitely like a going in blind scenario.
Yeah, it's definitely more of like a cult film than like a... Yeah. Than like a mainstream
And I will say, it's not
thing.
a great movie, but I did have some fun watching it.
Okay, that's good.
The mystery thriller elements I thought were pretty fun. I really wasn't expecting those. I thought it was kind of It played it out all pretty well.
What did you think it was
The
going to?
characters,
Before you watched it, what did you think it was going to be? Did you think it was just going to be like Sean Connery running around shooting aliens or something?
see, I thought it would either be like that, or I thought it was going to be a prison break movie for whatever reason.
Oh,
Or
kind of
it's
like
going to be Sean Connery's getting chased by the cops instead of Sean Connery is the cop.
it's sort of like Lockout, kind of, where it's like this prison break movie but set in space. Okay, that would have been interesting.
But no, it's a very different movie, and I enjoyed it for what it was. I really liked the atmosphere of the film, especially like the costumes and the set designs, because it reminded me a lot of Alien.
Yeah, a lot of people made that comparison, and while I was watching
like,
it, I was like, there's definitely I don't know if it was intentional or not, but yeah, this does share a lot of similar DNA to Alien, which came out a couple years before it.
Because a lot of it is like, it's like kind of futuristic, but everything looks pretty like, beaten up and run down, and obviously it's sort of based off of the 80s technology. But on top of that, there's also just like similar themes between Alien and this, like especially like with the company.
Yeah. I don't know what the name of the company is, but like I kept thinking of Weyland-Yutani though. Like
pretty much. It feels just like this could be Weyland-Yutani.
Oh, it's Con Am?
Something like that. Because it's like a mining company.
Con Amalgamated is the full name of the company.
Okay. And I thought a lot of the characters, even though they weren't like super deep, were pretty fun. Sean Connery's fun as always, but also like this really sassy like doctor played by Frances Sternhagen, I think is how you pronounce her name.
I don't really know what else she's
They had a lot of like fun.
I don't really know what else I think I was like looking at her Wikipedia. It seems she was more of like a stage actor.
Yeah. She was in Independence Day apparently.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, but not that one. The other Independence Day.
Oh!
From 1983.
Oh, that's right. It's not the Independence Day I was thinking of, huh?
The one that it was like a 80s melodrama or something with Okay, what?
Oops, I just saw the name and went, oh yeah, I know that movie. Anyway.
Oh, but, well, okay, this is a little more similar to Independence Day. She's in the movie Communion.
Okay, yeah. She's in The Mist.
And Misery. Wait, she's in Misery? I didn't know she was in Misery, huh? I guess I didn't recognize her, I guess, but anyway. Maybe we should do Misery.
I thought,
Misery might be a good
Sean
one.
Connery.
If you haven't seen it, Misery might be a good one. I really... Have you seen Misery?
No, I haven't.
It's really good. We should do that one at some point.
Okay. Yeah, we'll keep that one in mind.
I'll write it down somewhere. Keep going. Sorry.
But I thought that she and Connery had a lot of fun back and forth. It feels like theirs is the only relationship that really gets developed. Which that is one of my complaints of the movie.
Characters are a bit thin.
There's not a whole lot of... Yeah, characters are a bit thin, and although the mystery is kind of fun at first, it feels like it ultimately doesn't go very far.
It kind of... I'll probably talk about this later, but it's a little bit too obvious of a mystery.
Yeah, but like even beyond that, it feels like really small in scope. Like it starts off like they're investigating, someone's sneaking on like these illegal drugs onto the ship, and instead of like it unraveling into a grander conspiracy, that's all it really ends up being.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's like,
true.
It's super obvious who's involved. So like that part feels a little bit lazy.
It could have had better.
Apart from like
it could have had better writing. That's true. Yeah.
But apart from like these couple complaints, overall it is I think just a pretty fun and enjoyable movie.
If you like this kind of like early 80s, like late 70s, like sci-fi, sort of thing. Yeah. Like if Alien, we mentioned Alien a bit. It's sort of, there's some overlap with that. Or Capricorn 1, I mentioned, same director. It kind of felt a little like that at some points. Leonard Maltin.
Ooh, okay.
We want to guess. This one's actually pretty easy to guess.
I'm gonna guess he gave it like a 2.
Close, 2.5. He gave it 2.5. I was like,
Oh, okay.
before I looked at his review, I was like, I feel like he gave this one 2.5, and then I read it, and I'm like, yeah, I was right. He said it was slickly made, but predictable. Okay, that one's actually kind of fair.
Yeah.
And unpleasant in tone. Doesn't like exploding heads, I guess.
I guess not. It was too much for him.
I also just remember, I think my parents used to have this movie on VHS, if I remember right.
Oh, yeah.
Before we got rid of a bunch of our VHS tapes, so we used to have this one, I think. I don't know why, but anyway. So the plot. It's high noon in space. Sort of.
Yeah,
That's one thing
yeah.
I read that somewhere, is that like some people have compared this to High Noon, and kind of, but also not really. I don't know. Because I guess, yeah, it is like one marshal facing off against a bunch of people by himself, but like that's about all the similarity I could find. Which could partly because instead of this having Gary Cooper, it's Sean Connery, and instead of taking place in the Old West, it takes place on one of Jupiter's moons, where there's all these weird accidents going on. People going crazy, their heads explode. Sean Connery has to go investigate it, and it turns out the company he works for is a bit corrupt, we might say.
No way.
What a twist. Okay, so the pros. I like the models in this, like all of the space station.
Yeah. Because that was one of the first thing I wrote down, was the models were like really impressive, just really good looking.
We mentioned Alien earlier, but it was also a lot of the outside shots reminded me of like 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Like the shots where all the astronauts are on the moon in that one, it kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah.
And just a lot of the visual,
honestly, like a bit of it,
look of it. It's just really interesting. Like the look of Jupiter's moon, and like you can see the red from Jupiter at some points. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say? Sorry, I interrupted you.
I was just gonna say the outside, it almost like looks like an oil rig or something like that that's just set up on this moon. It's a
kind of, yeah, because aren't they supposed to be like a mining colony up in space or something? Yeah. I don't remember exactly what they're mining, but yeah.
I don't think that's ever like stated what it is. They're just mining in general.
Just the look of it was really reminding me of like the first two Alien movies. Like it just looks really like dirty and like it looks like people are just up there in space working, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And I do kind of piggybacking off of that. On top of the model design, the set design, and I think the costume designs are done very well.
Yeah, all the costume. Again, they're these like worker like outfits that they have to wear, and it looks like they've just been up there a while and just been doing their jobs. Again, there's so many other like sci-fi movies I could be compared. I was like thinking of a bunch of them, like Alien. I think I thought of like Silent Running at one point.
Oh yeah.
Because they kind of they're kind of dressed in similar costumes to what they wear in like Alien or Silent Running and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And just all the weird, like, futuristic set design. This is why I like these kinds of movies, is just all the weird shit that they come up with. Like, there's, like, the tennis room with a wall that has flashing white lights.
Yeah, yeah.
The hallways in this, like, the hallways are like...
The hallways, it's like straight out of Alien.
I know, yeah. And the lighting's really good, too. It also just looks like there's, like, the scenes in Aliens when they're on that, like... There's that, like... Oh, what were they called? Like... Before they, like, go in to investigate, there's like people living up there on it's like a colony, I guess. It kind of reminded me of that. They have this bar that looks like something out of Blade Runner.
Yeah, it really does.
These, like, naked dancers and, like, blue lights. I wasn't sure if they...
Honestly, it reminded me a bit of, like, the Joy.
They almost looked like holograms,
Yeah.
but I wasn't sure exactly. But yeah, you were gonna mention, yeah, when they're in 2049, yeah, the holograms and that it's kind of like that.
And then with the costumes, like these workers have these like multicolored spacesuits that they have on.
Yeah. Oh, the helmets are pretty cool.
Rims of lights.
I like the helmets too, like the lights. The lights in the helmets, those look pretty cool. And also, again, we keep mentioning Alien. It really does just look and feel like Alien during a lot of this.
Yeah.
To the point where even I was like reading like IMDb and one of the trivia facts, I think it said like that some fans have like said this is kind of like this is maybe like a prequel or a sequel to Alien because there's just so much overlap.
Or maybe it even's just happening at the same time, just because it just feels so similar.
Alien or Aliens could be one of the. I don't think they specify the year this is, but just it could be any time. The music score I think is pretty good. I mean, it's Jerry Goldsmith, so
Yeah. And there were points where it almost reminded me of something like Star Trek or Indiana Jones, especially with all like the brass instruments they were using.
I know Jerry Goldsmith did do the score for. He did the score for Star Trek: The Motion Picture, I think, but I don't know if he.
Oh, okay.
I think James Horner did the other ones though, but. And yeah, Indiana Jones, like, kind of see, or like again, Alien, Total Recall, just movies like that, basically. Poor John Ratzenberger dies in like the first scene.
Yeah, and it's pretty like kind of grody too, because he starts freaking out. He thinks there's like a spider on him, and so he's like clawing at his spacesuit.
Yeah. And his like head like inflates and explodes. Again, it's a lot like Total Recall.
Yeah, no, like exactly like when they're on the surface of Mars. It's pretty similar.
Except it's even more.
It's
a lot bloodier though than like when it happens in Total Recall, but not quite as. It's not quite as exaggerated though, because in Total Recall it looks way more like cartoonish when they're expanding and stuff. Not quite as cartoonish as that one exploding guy in Big Trouble in Little China, though.
That's true. It's not quite to that level.
Maybe we should do that movie at some point. That one might be fun. Yeah, like, every time that happens, it's just like, sheesh, can you imagine going to see this, like, the first time, and, like, you're not expecting that to happen, and it just happens? Like, Jesus Christ.
I mean, I wasn't expecting to happen. It did catch me a little bit off guard.
Oh, yeah. Seems like when you first watch Alien and the xenomorph just bursts out of him,
Yeah.
I bet people, like, fainted when they first saw that.
I've seen several people that I've watched that movie with for the first time, and they get, like, pretty scared by that scene in Alien, yeah.
Because they're just sitting around having dinner, talking all friendly to each other, and then all of a sudden that happens. Yeah. It's like, Jesus.
It is just horrifying, yeah.
And poor John Hurt, like, he actually looks like he's, oh my goodness. And then obviously a huge pro with this movie. It has Sean Connery in it. I mean, just
Yeah, yeah. He steals the show.
you can see why he was, like a leading man in a lot of movies. From this, he just commands your attention. He's even just the way he says asshole in this is great. I mean, like,
I mean, like from his like first line, it's almost immediately you like just hear the Sean Connery voice. Just, how soon for what?
he just has one of those voices that like everybody like imitates. It's like those SNL skits with him and the Jeopardy ones.
Yeah, yeah.
Suck it, Trebek. One's a sick and talk. I don't remember the rest of the joke, but your mother's a whore. But also just, he gets scenes where he actually, because obviously he's Sean Connery, he's pretty badass, but also there's like a lot of good scenes where he has to actually emote. Including, there's this one
and he
scene.
does a very good job.
There's this one scene that was really good where he didn't even have any lines. Where he's like watching a video transmission from his wife. Because his wife and son, they're like going back to Earth, but he has to stay up there and do his job. So his wife sends him this like really sad video transmission. And like Sean Connery is just watching it. He doesn't even have any lines, but like his acting there is really good because you can just see it all just there in his eyes, and it's really, really good acting.
Like he does that a couple times in the film because I think he revisits that one like recording a couple of times.
He's just playing
and
it
like
before he leaves.
Yeah, I feel like it adds a lot to him because usually when we see Sean Connery in an action film, he's just a badass that keeps fighting. So giving him actual like human moments is actually really nice.
Yeah, I mean, you watch him in like the James Bond movies, and he doesn't really have too many moments like that. Yeah. Exactly. You just like just Smith and Wesson, and you've had your six, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Shocking, positively shocking. Whereas, here there's a little bit more to him than that in this movie. It's just he's got kind of a, I don't know if I'd say the marriage is like strained, but more just like he wants to go back to Earth, but he can't because he's busy,
Yeah.
Whole movie, and then when he finally is like writing that thing on the computer saying he's like coming home, and it's like it feels really satisfying.
Yeah, no, it's very heartfelt when you get to that point.
But basically in this movie he's a space marshal. And another thing is he's kind of new there. So he feels a bit out of place in this environment, so that's another thing that makes him a little more like human than,
Yeah.
In this
and they also
although it's not that much of a problem for him though, because he's Sean Connery. I mean,
yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying?
And yeah, another fun thing to see is that since he's a space marshal, he's doing like this like investigation, like a bit of detective work on the ship, and so we actually get to see him being like a smart character and thinking things through, which I feel like is also a bit of a standout for Sean Connery.
I mean, you do have some moments like that in his early Bond movies where he's like actually investigating and stuff, but yeah, that's true. You don't really get stuff like that in The Rock much, for example. But that was another thing that was interesting, is it's kind of a mystery movie where it's Sean Connery is he's just going around the space station just investigating, trying to figure out why these people are just getting their heads exploded up.
Yeah.
And the scene, there's a lot of good scenes of him interacting, but there's the scenes with him and the doctor are pretty funny, where like
Yeah,
she's just so she's so rude to him, but then they kind of just develop this camaraderie throughout the movie that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
I like the first scene
And
between
you
them
can
where
tell, like, he's the only person on this ship that she respects.
I like how this is from the very first scene where they meet. He like threatens to kick her ass out of the room because she's being so rude. It's like, damn.
Yeah.
I wrote a few lines from her down. One of them was at one point when she says, "I'm unpleasant. I'm not stupid. I can count."
That was a pretty good
That
one.
one was funny. Oh, where was the other one? I think I wrote another one down. Shit, where is it? I don't remember where I... Oh, right. She, like, calls his wife a very stupid lady and asks if he wants to go get drunk.
Yeah.
That made me laugh. Just stuff like that, It wasn't, like, amazing humor, but, some of it was funny here and there.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you get a lot of shots of Sean Connery running down the hallways. I mean, it's just, And he was in pretty good shape for his age. He was, like, in his 50s at this point.
Yeah, no, he looks pretty good.
He looks as fit as ever in this, and this, like...
Yeah.
What, 2 years before he played James Bond for the last time? The last time, because there were the other... That's another thing we might talk about when we eventually get around to some of those. There's like this chase scene where he's just running after this guy, and I don't even entirely know why he was chasing him, but it was a well-shot chase scene.
Yeah.
And then they just end up in this... There's this kitchen fight scene, which was pretty good.
Yeah, I think I wrote down, it kind of reminded me of the Living Daylights kitchen fight scene.
I had a feeling that was going to come up, because, except here you have Bond. That one,
exactly.
He, like, burns his hand in a pot at one point, because he's, like, trying to get, like, I think it was some drugs. He was trying to get some drugs out of there.
Yeah.
It's a good fight scene. He cuts Sean Connery with a steak knife, which is like, jeez.
He almost gets his head into, like, a deep fryer. It's just a really tense fight.
I like the way this scene ends, too, because, like, Connery, like, corners him with a shotgun and says, "Think it over."
Yeah.
Which kind of made me think of Dirty Harry when he says, "Go ahead, make my day."
A lot of the fight scenes in this were pretty good. There wasn't, like, a ton of them.
There wasn't a ton of... It's not a very, like, action-packed movie. It's more of, like, a thriller than, like, a action movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's much more about, like, suspense and stuff. Again, kind of like Alien,
Yeah.
It's more Alien
and I did think
than
that
Alien.
They have, like, a low-gravity fight at the end of the movie that I thought was pretty fun.
Oh, was that when he, wait. Is it when he jumps down and, like, attacks the guy?
Yeah.
On, like, the outside of the space station? Yeah, that was pretty good. It did make me laugh.
He knocks another guy to the side and he just gets zapped like it's a bug zapper.
He, like, destroys a greenhouse at one point and a guy gets sucked out into space.
Yeah.
Which that was the part that made me think of Silent Running. It kind of made... Because it's like a greenhouse up in space, so I'm like, well, Silent Running. Of course, that's what it is. And yeah, at the end of the movie, it's just him, like, it's just Sean Connery sneaking around in the dark and, like, shooting people occasionally. So that's when the movie starts feeling like... That was when the movie started feeling like a Western. Like, it started feeling a little more like High Noon, I guess.
Yeah. And a lot towards the beginning, too. Like, when we first see him, like, setting up as the marshal, he has the meeting with all of, like, the important people on the ship. It felt like something out of a Western.
And there's like a bar and stuff. Yeah, it kind of is like a Western in space, but just it was more just like, I don't think got quite as much shared DNA with High Noon as I was led to believe, but
Yeah, as most people kind of say.
but it does have, yeah, it I can definitely see Western influences. But there's just like a lot of explosions at the end. There's one guy that like inflates, and you can see their eyes get so big when they inflate.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, we should mention Steven Berkoff.
Oh yeah.
His character is very memorable because he's like this, because the movie, it's like, people going crazy on the space station. He's the one that probably goes the craziest because he's just in this really small room trying to like kill a hooker or something.
Yeah, like he's got a knife in there.
It's a really intense scene. Like just the lighting is really just, and like all the camera angles.
Because the whole room is like lit with red.
It feels very claustrophobic. Like it's very well shot.
It does.
Because it's just him in this room with the hooker, and they're like trying to talk to him through the door, or trying to get him to stop, basically. And Steven Berkoff is he's good at playing crazy people, I guess. So
Yeah.
Maybe this is the part that got him the role of a Bond villain. I don't know.
And the way the confrontation ends is also pretty interesting because it does build up a bit more of like the mystery aspect to it.
So they kill him. They like shoot him with a shotgun.
Yeah, even though Sean Connery wants to take him back alive, like immediately the security guys just take him out.
And the interesting thing, his character was named Sagan. Can you guess who they named him after?
Could it possibly be Carl Sagan?
Yes. You had billions and billions of possible people that could be named after. Was it billions upon billions? I don't know. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I watched Cosmos. This was like the year after Cosmos first aired, if I remember right. And yeah, they find that's when they find the drug from a blood sample from Steven Berkoff's character. And basically, I thought this was interesting. It's like this drug that they're able to do 14 hours of work in 6 hours.
Yeah, basically just...
But it has like this side effect where it basically makes them crazy.
Yeah.
But of course, the company keeps using it because they want to, like, profits.
Improve productivity. Yeah.
Yeah. They need to get the as many screams as they can to power their doors and stuff. Or whatever, or like to power their city, I guess.
Yeah.
He kind of Peter Boyle's character is kind of like Mr. Waterdose in this, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Should we talk about where I have Peter Boyle? Yeah, Peter Boyle's interesting because he's the main villain, and it's kind of obvious though that he's going to be the main villain. Because I mean, you look at him in his first scene, and you're just like, villain. I mean,
he kind of this would probably be leading a bit more into cons. He did kind of remind me of the villain from Darkman.
A little bit, yeah. The better acting though than that movie.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Than the character in that movie, because it's Peter Boyle.
He did feel a little bit more charismatic than the Darkman one, but again, he kind of just comes out being like...
It's because he's played by Peter Boyle.
Stooge.
Peter Boyle's a good actor. But what I like about him in this, he's like... most of his scenes in this, he's just sitting back, drinking, or playing golf. and stuff.
Yeah.
while other people are doing stuff for him.
He plays a lot of golf in this movie.
I like how he's got that room where he's playing golf. He's got this projector with golf courses on it. That was funny.
Yeah.
And his interactions with Sean Connery are fun, too. Where they both know, like, you know, we both know where they stand, but they can't really do much about it. It kind of makes me wish there was a golf scene between the two, kind of like in Goldfinger.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know, where he switches his golf ball around or something. Or his henchman, crushes the golf ball and throws the, razor blade hat and decapitates a statue. I kind of just want to watch Goldfinger again. But anyway. Oh, speaking of Bond, there was, it probably wasn't an intentional reference, but he has his computer, at one point, it says it has a message for him labeled "Your Eyes Only."
Oh, yeah. There was a couple times. I was wondering if that was supposed to be a reference.
I don't know if it was intentional or not, but guess what Bond movie came out the same year as this?
Oh, was it For Your Eyes Only?
It was For Your Eyes Only. It came out a month after this movie did. Yeah, there's a golf scene. There's a golf scene. There's a tennis scene. And to be fair, the tennis scene, that's another scene that's really well acted. Whenever Sean Connery is just interrogating people in this movie, it's pretty good. You know, that... with that scene, it's you can really tell he's, determined to figure out, what the hell is going on. But you kind of get the sense he's, trying to figure out if his, tennis friend is also on the drug or not. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I can hear Godfather music upstairs. So, Dad watching on TV. Let's see. And unfortunately, his tennis friend dies. Everybody just died. They just die. That one guy he was trying to interrogate that he got from the kitchen, that guy dies. There's a scene where he's in this freezer with a bunch of meat, and I was expecting it to turn into Rocky, where he's, punching, huge slabs of meat.
Oh, yeah. I was wondering for a second if it was going to turn out to be, people in there, you know?
And I guess he slams a guy into one, so, I mean, close enough, so...
Yeah, no, I thought, the meat itself.
Oh, they're hiding inside. Oh, that'd be funny. That would've been funny.
Yeah.
But no, he finds the drugs in there instead. There's a guy with a Waluigi mustache.
Yeah, I wrote him down. I'm like, this guy looks like he belongs in a Western.
He looks like Waluigi or something. It was funny to me. And then the ending of the movie's pretty good, where he goes to the bar. He's barely able to walk at this point. He goes over to Peter Boyle. He says, "Oh, fuck it," and then knocks him out with one punch.
Yeah.
I also love how when Connery walks into the room, everybody just goes silent. And then he leaves and people are still silent. They're just holy shit, you know.
Yeah.
Even in universe, people are just in awe of Sean Connery. So, I wonder when he goes to that bar, does he order a martini shaken not stirred?
Probably.
Yeah, and then the movie ends with him leaving to go home, basically.
Yeah. And again, it's a very touching ending.
Did you have anything else to add, or before I kind of cons?
I think that's everything I had under pros.
Okay. Yeah, the cons. definitely go in with the expectation that this is more of like a slow burn rather than like a fast-paced action movie.
Yes.
So I feel like maybe that's a reason that it bombed at the box office, is because people, it's kind of like with Blade Runner, where people thought it was this like action movie or something, but it really isn't. And some of it is a bit derivative of other sci-fi movies. Like, I mean,
it feels like it was definitely influenced by Alien.
yeah, we keep mentioning Alien a lot. You half expect the company in this to be like Weyland-Yutani or something like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
One of those other fictional companies.
Yeah. And then like I mentioned, the brassy sound of the soundtrack really sounds like Star Wars.
The soundtrack, the score, yeah, kind of. You know, maybe Sean Connery would have fit into the Star Wars. Do you think he could have been Han Solo or something?
Oh, that's weird to imagine.
Just take his character in this and have him be Han Solo or something.
Yeah.
Yes, but you have.
And then I kind of mentioned that most of the characters are pretty one-dimensional, but the one that really kind of sucks is that it feels like there's absolutely no chemistry between Sean Connery and his wife, Kika Markham.
Well, to be fair, they're like not even in the same room for most of the movie.
True.
They really only have that like one scene at the beginning, and then the rest of it's like video transmissions.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
But it still feels like
that is something I will agree with you, though. The characters aren't very fleshed out in this.
Yeah.
I mentioned this before, but it's kind of obvious that Peter Boyle is going to be the main villain.
Yeah.
And he's only really in like 3 or 4 scenes. And then the rest of really, aside from Sean Connery, most of the characters are just kind of there.
Yeah.
You got that doctor, and really her only personality trait is that she's rude to people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is funny, but I mean, okay. And then you have the people that go crazy here and there, and yeah, there's not the most three-dimensional characters. Another thing I was thinking, and maybe this is why, because it's a good movie, but I think what was keeping it from being a great movie is if it had had a director like James Cameron or Ridley Scott making it.
Yeah.
I think it could have been even better. That's why I think the movie was missing. It was missing a really top-notch director like that. Now, not to say Peter Hyams is a bad director. He's made a few good movies, but he's no James Cameron or Ridley Scott. I mean, At first, this kind of felt like a James Cameron movie. I was noticing
a little bit, yeah.
Or an early Ridley Scott, Aliens we mentioned. Some of the set design sort of looks like Terminator a bit, like the first one.
Yeah.
A little bit.
And then I also feel like I kind of touched on this.
Or The Abyss. I was thinking of The Abyss while watching this movie too. I don't know if you did.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
For some reason, I kept The Abyss. I kept thinking of while watching this for some reason. I guess because it's a sci-fi movie, but they're just people doing their jobs, really.
Yeah.
Kind of like Alien again. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say the mystery component of this is a little weak, partially because it's pretty obvious that Peter Boyle is is going to be the bad guy.
Because who else?
But also
who else is it gonna be? I mean, you look at the cast, and it's but anyway.
Yeah. But then, on top of that, like I mentioned, the mystery doesn't go too deep. It kind of just stops.
It's just,
Peter Boyle.
it's just, oh, these, like, drugs, they're, like, you know, doing all this weird stuff to people, but they don't care. And that's about where it stops.
Yeah, and it feels like he doesn't have a whole lot of henchmen on this ship either. Like,
You know, maybe that's the problem with this movie. This movie, it has a water noose, but it doesn't have a Randall.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe that's what the movie was missing. So does that make... I guess that makes Sean Connery's character Sully, then? In that case.
Yeah, does that make the Dr. Mike?
Wazowski, Mike Wazowski. I guess. Yeah, because their chemistry is kind of like that, where they don't... I mean, they hang out with each other, but they kind of argue a lot. I don't know. Maybe not quite the same, but, you know. It's funny. It's funny we're finding so many parallels to Monsters Inc. with this movie.
Monsters Inc. with this movie that has, like, no relationship to it whatsoever.
Maybe they should remake Monsters Inc., but make it more like Outland. There's one scene where he talks to his son through a transmission, and the kid is obviously dubbed. I mean...
yeah.
Because, I mean, okay, logically, it follows that a kid with Sean Connery as his dad and a British mom would have an American accent, right?
The thickest American accent you could ever think of.
And it's too bad, because it's actually it's a really sad scene. Like, Sean Connery's acting in that scene is really good, but you're just so distracted by this kid and, like, the dubbing job here.
Yeah.
You know, because this is a really sad scene. He wants to go home with his wife and his kid, but he can't yet, so, yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, you're just like, oh my god, like, why did you dub this kid? It had to be a dubbing job, right? I mean, anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
There's a few effects that didn't age well, like the guy getting sucked out into space when the greenhouse blows up.
Yeah, it was pretty, yeah.
That shot didn't age well. And there's maybe a few other examples, but that was the most egregious one. I think most of it looks good, though. Most of it looks like Alien.
Yeah.
Keep mentioning Alien over and over again. Did you have anything else?
Let's see. You talked a bit about the characters being a little... Let me do one last... Because I think that was most of the problems with this. I feel like it was fairly well paced. I feel like it didn't really drag its feet at all, which was nice.
It's slow, but it's slow for a reason, I think.
Yeah.
Like Alien, basically. It's like you're building up the tension, you know?
Yeah. I feel like that's really all that I have.
I guess really just the only other thing, I think, because Leonard Maltin said in his review, you know, as much as I disagree with Leonard Maltin, I do think he had a point that, yeah, the movie is a bit predictable, and it's kind of just like recycled, some of it is recycled parts from other, like, movies of this type, you know?
Exactly.
And maybe that's another reason it bombed, it kind of just didn't have enough of its own identity yet, but, you know. But, I mean, hey, it has a cult following, so, you know.
Yeah, and I can see why.
It definitely is
the
like...
The setting alone, yeah.
Yeah, the setting of it is very interesting, and obviously, I mean, any movie with Sean Connery in it has some fans out there, so...
Yeah.
Even Highlander 2 has some fans, probably. Or the Avengers movie from 1998. I'm sure that has... I don't think that has any fans.
It's probably got somebody, yeah.
There might be, like, maybe one or two people that like it, but I'm not one of them. So, overall thoughts, if you...
Yeah, it's not a great movie, like I said, but it is very fun to watch.
As far as this
I
kind
think
of
the
movie,
setting is
yeah, as far as this kind of
yeah,
movie goes,
yeah.
it has a lot to. I think it has stuff to offer people.
The setting's cool. Sean Connery has a very good performance in this. It kind of stands out among like other action movies that he's done in the past. Mystery element, while it's not fully developed, it does have like enough to keep the plot moving. Some of the side characters are fun.
Like Steven Burkoff.
Yeah, yeah,
He's only really
Steven,
in that one
yeah,
scene, but it's a very memorable scene.
he stands out. Yeah, Stephen Murkoff and then Frances Sternhagen is also pretty.
Yeah,
fun.
she was pretty good. And Peter Boyle, even though he's not in it that much, I mean, he's Peter Boyle, so, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Wizard from Taxi Driver. I kind of want to watch Young Frankenstein again, that movie.
Oh yeah.
He's part of why that movie is so funny. He's so good in that as the monster. Like I love the scene with him and the with the blind guy. Where he's like
Yeah.
trying to give him like soup and coffee and stuff. He like lights his thumb on fire because he's trying to light the cigar.
Oh, I forgot about that scene. It's been so long since I've seen that movie.
That was Gene Hackman too. That was Gene Hackman as the blind guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that movie's so funny. Did you have anything else to say about Outland? Sorry.
No, I think that's really it.
Again, I enjoy the movie. If you want like a kind of mystery western type thing set in space that stars Sean Connery, you get that. So, you know. But Jupiter, you know, it's like this, you know, the Jupiter's moon setting's pretty cool. I like all the like
Yeah.
costumes and just the overall aesthetic of it. It's just very appealing to me. It's like a person likes a lot of sci-fi type movies. Good music, by Jerry Goldsmith. You know, it's an enjoyable movie. So I think I realized while watching this is maybe we should do Zardoz sometime.
I think we've brought that up a couple times now.
If you want to see a really weird sci-fi movie with Sean Connery in it, that's an option.
I mean, that one, like, just piece of swimwear that he wears.
We'd have a little more to... yeah, the Borat costume. We'd have a little more to talk about with that one for good and bad reasons.
Yeah.
And speaking of Connery, we are going to be doing more Bond movies sometime in the near future.
Yes,
And at some point we will do Highlander 2, The Quickening. Jesus Christ, that's that one. That's going to be a podcast.
Yeah.
But our next podcast we decided would be Friday the 13th again. We're doing
Yes, since it's coming up in June.
parts 5 through 8.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll get kind of half and half on, you know, the quality.
Yeah.
But you know that should be fun. So yeah. I want to do the Bond movies, but we'll get to that eventually.
Yeah, we will get to
Oh
those
god,
eventually.
and then we're gonna have to... I'm looking at the other stuff we have to do. We have to do Hollow Man 2 and Lawnmower Man 2.
Lawnmower Man 2?
Wait, what order? Are we doing The Fly 2? Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Jesus. Hollow Man 2. Oh yes. The widely anticipated sequel, Hollow Man 2, Texas Blood Money. Wait, which of these do you think Texas Blood Money goes with the best? Highlander 2, Texas Blood Money. The Fly 2, Texas Blood Money. Hollow Man 2, Texas Blood Money. Lawnmower Man 2, Texas Blood Money. Or RoboCop 2, Texas Blood Money.
I think it's got to be a Highlander too, right?
I don't know. The Fly 2, Texas Blood Money, and Lawnmower Man 2, Texas Blood Money are pretty funny.
Yeah.
Highlander 2, Texas Blood Money is funny, though, just because you're imagining, like, Connor McLeod, like, or something, you know. Anyway. But yeah, no, we're doing Friday the 13th, 5 through 8 next.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
And until then,
Looking forward to 2 of those.
Yeah. Roll the Andy Griffith.
Good night, you stupid idiot. Good night, you miserable slob.